Hi there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ren and thank you for joining me on this drive and talk. And in this video I want to talk about the most important thing as an entrepreneur. So when you're an entrepreneur, there are many different hats that you are wearing, okay? Especially if you run a business by yourself, and even if you have a team, you get distracted by tons of things because there are tons of things to do, right? There are tons of responsibilities. There's anything from marketing to, if you employ people, you have people management, you have recruitment. There's all kinds of stuff going on. If you own a brick and mortar store, whether that's owning a gym like I used to do, or having like a restaurant or some physical store, you have to deal with many things. But the problem is that we as entrepreneurs, we forget the most important thing. So Alex Ramosi is very adamant about this, and I had to learn this the hard way. I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades, and really honest about this, I used to do this also. I get distracted by 1,000 things, changing the color on the website, all these really stupid things that your mind get occupied with, but they don't really matter. So let me explain to you what does matter. All of these things really have to contribute to one thing, and that is creating revenue, right? Not even talking about profit, just create revenue. If you do not create any revenue, there will be no profit. Of course, you have to think about, gross profit, net profit, and of course, that is important too. But especially if you're starting out, especially if you're still small, if you're not making millions a month, the most important thing is just to sell, right? If you're not making 100,000 a month, just focus everything on selling. Now, selling, making sales is the number one thing, because if you don't make any sales, you're not going to make any profit. If you're not making any sales, you're not making any revenue. If you're not making any revenue, it's not a business, it's a hobby, right? It's an expensive hobby. So you have to sell. You have to sell to make money. Now, all of the things that do not attribute to more sales, you should forget about them. Real talk. And there are more really big entrepreneurs who agree with this, while usually a lot of business coaches try to sell you these other things, right? Other things that do not contribute to making more sales. Now, if you make 100,000 a month, then of course you have to look at other things, right? And I'm not saying that if you own a physical storefront, that shouldn't be in order, right? You should, follow local regulations and all of that. Of course, you need that, because if that's not okay, you can't sell, right? But in essence, whether your website has a blue background or a green background, or whether you use this font or the other font, it doesn't really matter. Selling is basically creating an offer and putting that offer in front of potential customers or leads. That's it, right? In order to do that, I don't need a website. In order to do that, I don't need a fancy storefront, right? You need offers and you need leads. And then you have to put the offers in front of the leads, right? Even if they're not leads, you have to find people to sell to. When you find the people, you just literally just share your offer with them. And this may sound really simplified, but it actually is, right? Now, if you have a physical storefront, again, you might think like, okay, but if my store looks like shit, the people won't come in and they won't buy the clothes that I sell, or the whatever, the tires or the bicycles. True, but that doesn't change the concept, right? The concept is create an offer that would be stupid to turn down. Literally, a potential customer would be stupid or silly to turn down that offer. That would be an amazing offer, right? And then you have to find people who you can offer it to, right? If you have those two, then you can make sales. Or you can create an environment where selling becomes something that is more feasible, right? So that's basically it. All the things that surround this process, I'm not going to say that they're not necessary, maybe to some extent, but they should always lead to this thing. Again, if you're not making a huge amount of money, if you're not turning in 100K months, that means you're basically just small, right? And I'm not even talking about people who are doing 10K a month of gross revenue, right? I'm not talking about net profit or something. I'm talking about still being quite small because they're expensive and everything, right? Then all you have to do is sell, right? Just focus every day on selling. And what I mean by that is cold outreach, DMs on Instagram, cold emails, call people, text people. I mean, literally, you can just take out your phone and just everybody you know, send them a text, give them a call. Don't say, I've got something to sell you. Find some other way to get leads from that person. That person might be a lead, but especially if they're in your phone, you might probably know them. So you don't want to sell to them directly, but you just ask them, do you know somebody who might be interested in this, right? Better if you have a free giveaway, maybe you have a coffee shop. Hey, do you know 5 people who might be interested in getting a coffee at our shop for free or for half the price, right? Having a lead magnet, if you're an online business, or if you're not even an online business but you use online marketing, that would be awesome too. So you're calling out, you're reaching out, you're using cold outreach to create more leads by simply asking them, do you know somebody? Do you know someone? Do you know people, 10 people who I can give this to, 10 people who I can invite to this free workshop, just to sell, right? Now, if selling will become your priority and you will start doing that every day, then eventually your revenue will grow, because I can guarantee you, if you do that, eventually you're going to sell. I do this too. This is basically what I do, and I sell, right? So you just have to make that the priority. Will it always be fun? No. Will it be easy? No, but it's simple. So, and that's also something that I think is always always good to remember, if something is simple but not easy, then it's something that you can really tune into, right? Because if it's simple, then it shouldn't take you a big investment in time, in terms of money or resources. It would just be something that you would have to focus on, right? And selling like this, in any way, in any environment, in any market, you can just focus on selling. Even if you don't like selling, find somebody who does, right? There is another way. You can also try and recruit people who love to sell, who are very good at selling. So instead of just trying to sell, and it will take you a long time to do that, you can recruit, find people who will sell it for you. You can pay them, you can give them some kind of revenue share deal, whatever, right? As long as you put your offer in front of people who might be interested, what we call leads, that should be everything and all of your focus. And then you will grow your business. And you will grow your business by creating more revenue. And that was something that I had to learn. I had several businesses, successful businesses, and I sold them. But when I look back, I'm doing it now, right? I'm using this same principle, and it really, really works amazing. But back in the day, again, I've been an entrepreneur for 2 decades. Now I realize, looking back, I spent way too much time doing all this unnecessary stuff that didn't really move the needle for my business. If I just used all my energy, my time, my focus on just selling, I would be much, much more successful. And my businesses would be much bigger, and therefore I would have gotten more money, better prices when I sold them. So that was just something I wanted to share with you. So the one thing to focus on is just to sell. Sell, and just using this tried and true method of just reaching out to people, right? Just reach out digitally, physically, it doesn't matter. Just go hard, bang on doors, figuratively sometimes, but that will get the ball rolling eventually. Of course, if you use any passive methods, right, like paid advertising to get leads in, selling lead, distributing lead magnets, getting emails and using that, of course, that's the same thing. Just focus on selling. I hope this was helpful, and let me know in the comments what you think. Good luck.